Too cold to play any to be outdoors. In fact,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gordon, how was your Easter?
Easter was interesting because I had actually ended my trip to China, to a place called Xi'an, which we all know we all remember because of what they call the Terracotta Army, which
Yeah.
an interesting place, a very interesting place. I learned a lot more about what Chinese culture, Chinese history is about. Yeah, excellent trip.
What did you learn that surprised you about the terracottas or even within the city? What did you learn?
Wow. So I've learned that I always thought that this was a very small place, but this place is huge. It's like two football fields big, and it's got warriors, like thousands of warriors. They're terracotta statues, and they're slightly larger than life size. I think it's just to give the impression that the army of Qin Shi Huang, which is the Shi Huangti as we know him, the first emperor of China, wanted to kind of scare away his enemies.
Wow. Okay. Okay. And so you were there. I know we were talking about you were there for 6 days, add in the flight 8 days. Was it packed? Was it crowded on the planes? Everything like that with everything that's happening in the world.
So it was interesting. I went there prepared to be squashed. It's gonna Chinese tourism spots can be very crowded because there's a lot of domestic tourism. But because I went there a week before All Souls Day, Qingming, and that was a public holiday, so people have kind of delayed their tour trips by to move it so they coincide with that. So it was quite quiet. It was amazingly
Yeah.
quiet. Yeah.
Very good. Hey, let me ask you a quick question. I mean, you are Singaporean Chinese. I'm American Chinese. When you go to China or different places like that, do you notice a difference for you a lot of times that a different type of Chinese compared to
Oh,
those in China?
well, other than the skin tones and
Yeah.
perhaps we would look a little darker, the huge difference. The way we speak is different. The way we behave is different. And so sometimes they call us overseas Chinese, Hua
Yeah, yeah,
Jiao.
yeah, yeah. And I would probably say a lot of times for those who are Asian, especially for those who are from Africa, different places like that, you and I look Chinese, but we are very different. Singapore has a unique flavor with the Singaporean Chinese, but American Chinese are also very unique. And so a lot of times when we sit there, we look alike, but we come and we act differently because of our context and our culture.
Exactly. So Singapore is fortunate enough to receive many Chinese nationals who come here to do work or even stay or live with us. And yes, we can tell them apart, even though they look the same. It's when they speak or when they behave some way, it's just different.
Which leads us to our article today is making each person feel valued. Before we go into this article a little bit, is every single person is very unique. That is the one thing we've talked about. That is the one thing I got from this article. And so a lot of times understanding the unique DNA of each person, the personality of each person is so very key. So Gordon, let me ask you a quick question. In order to do that, what are the skills that you need a person needs to have to understand how a person is uniquely designed and uniquely built as in terms of personality?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I've never really thought about that. But you know something? Whilst you're speaking, I was going through my mind. I'm going like, what makes me feel unique, and what makes Tommy feel unique? I think just understanding that point that we are unique is the most and first most important thing. That we realize we're different. That I'm different from you, Tommy, and Tommy, you're different from me.
Yeah.
I think that's the first point.
And I would probably say, wouldn't you say, not only are you aware of that in your head mentally, but you are learning to observe. Some of the best leaders I know are observing. It's how you observe when Gordon walks into your room. It's how you observe, no matter what you just say to me, how you interact with other people, how you are in terms of making conversation. All of those things feed in. And so you have to learn to constantly evaluate, observe, understand the person and how they're wired.
Exactly. And I like that point about being observant, observant of the fact that you may behave differently under the same circumstance as Tommy, as Gordon, so we behave differently even with the same stimuli. So, and we respond differently to the same kind of
Yeah.
situations. And I think that's the first observation that we probably need to make.
Yeah, for instance, a lot of time, let's say, for instance, I'm meeting you for the first time. We had lunch over in Singapore not too long ago. And when you say that we're going to meet at 11 o'clock, you're there early at 10:50. Or if you're late, you're going to tell me, hey, I'm running 5 minutes late. So how I feel value or I show you value is that means when I meet you places, I show up on time. One of the worst things I could possibly do is that if you're a person on time, I show up 30, 20 minutes late. I am 15 minutes late. Gordon, I will be there. I'm sorry and all that stuff. That does not show you respect and appreciation.
And yet, in such a situation, I think it's important to kind of be a little kind to each other and realize that, oh, well, the late person is always late. And it's nothing personal. It's not he's just not valuing me. But it takes a lot to be able to grasp that and accept that point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Another thing, and we'll go to the article. Another thing, maybe I noticed about you is let's say, for instance, you don't speak unless you're asked your opinion. So, as a way to really be able to value you, I have to say, Gordon, what do you think? Because you may have a lot of thoughts, but you want to be respectful of every single person in the room, and so you don't speak until you know that everyone is at their say.
Yes, and one of the things that I have in when I'm like that is because sometimes I kind of ignore someone who's speaking a lot, and I really don't I'm not interested, but I still need to show attention, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Gordon.
Yeah, hi. You know, the internet's been playing up with us in the last episode, and now it's also still playing up on us.
Yeah. But one of the things is the first thing it says is give your people a love it, loathe it exercise. Talk to me about that one.
Yeah, this is an interesting. I never really thought about it. It says twice a year, ask your team to track what they loved and loathed about their work over the course of a week. And I thought about that for a while and wondered, what's the use of that? But actually, it's a good way of expressing what you like and what you don't like. And one of the things that make us unique is what we like or don't like differently.
Yeah. So, like for instance, in your coaching, if I was to ask you, what is it that you love? What is it that you loathe? What would you say to me?
Oh wow. I love the fact that people are sharing their thoughts with me, their opinions, their perspective. But what I loathe is really having people ask me what I am, or who I am, and what do I do. I don't know why, but that's me.
Yeah. And I realize for me, a lot of times, one of the part that I love is helping and working with the team to really be able to dream what they're able to do. But then the part that I loathe is the fact that I have to work with people on reporting and managing different people, especially personalities when they don't get along. That is that I loathe. And also the part that I don't like paperwork. I do not like paperwork at all, Gordon.
See that just illustrates our differences, and yet illustrates the fact that we are very human and we can be friends.
Yeah. And one of the things that I love what this part of this article says is don't rush to fix anything. Focus on building shared awareness of what makes them feel fulfilled and what drains them. So note that don't try to sit there and try to cure the problem, but note what they're how they're wired, what matters to those guys, and really make sure you understand that context.
Yeah. So this is something that has been a bit
The
of a
next
be my
one is understand. Oh, go ahead.
No, no, I was gonna just say that this is something that's
Oh,
very
go.
much of a bee in my bonnet recently, and that is how we are so used to getting things done that we always think about the how and how what to do's when we actually spend not don't spend enough time reflecting and understanding what's happening or raising our awareness ourselves.
Yeah. How about the next one, Gordon? Understand their response to change. How would you say that?
Well, the that point I'm reading from the same article as you. It says pay close attention to how each person reacts to when things shift, and that's interesting because when things change, we have different reactions, and our reactions sometimes result in us ending up with a conflict, a disagreement. And so being able to appreciate that makes us want to think about, oh, how can I value you by respecting your response to change.
Yeah. Gordon, wouldn't you say a lot of times, especially when it comes to change, some people like to be very, very structured. They just like things done in a certain type of way. And so, in some sense, being sensitive toward those individuals and really be able to understand, okay, what makes them frustrated? What makes them stressed? What makes them, but there are some people, like, for instance, I actually don't mind change. Keep changing it because it's easy for me to react it. So as a result, you've got to understand how each person is wired.
Exactly. So my daughter was just talking to me about how she's experiencing some change in her small group, and there are many people in the small group who are feeling very emotional about the change, and really the change was necessary for the small group to kind of grow better.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, let me ask you a quick question is, even as you work with different people in Singapore, how do you coach someone who doesn't like change? How do you coach someone who wants everything spelled out and is very rigid? What do you say to that person?
Yeah. So I think it's helping them appreciate that small steps only small steps are needed. You don't need to big steps. I think most people who hate change think about the end result and say, "Oh, how much different I need to do? How many things differently? Do things differently." But actually, all they need is to take little small steps and appreciate the little small steps. So baby steps, I think, help me um, help those who need to move to change.
You got it. Hey, the last one is individualized praise.
Hey. Okay. Sure. Okay. Sure. No worries. Dude. No, 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 no worries. It happens. Hey, do I hang on here or do we end here? Okay. 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 Because it's still recording, actually. Sure. Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you. All right. 3, 2, 1. Hey, Tommy, looks like we've got internet problems. Well, we were about to go to the last point about individualizing praise. And so, yeah. So I think praising, people respond differently to praise. Some like being praised in a group, some like being praised individually. But I really learned one interesting point about praise, and that's called third party praise. And something I learned when I was being trained as a leader in JP Morgan, and that is it is so much more effective when you tell a third party how you praise someone. Let's say Tommy. I would tell Tommy's good friend John and say, John, hey, Tommy's a really great guy. Recently he did this for me, and I really appreciate it, and I really value how he is. And so I think that's called third party praise. I've used it a couple of times, and it's really effective. It makes that praise so meaningful. Well, unfortunately, our internet just crashed, and so here we are. And so I'll say bye bye, Tommy. And I'll see you right after my Japan holiday. Bye.